Now, that amount of exposure varies a lot from season to season, and especially when you are coming in post-COVID, because, for example, the preseason's been totally altered,
right.
and the in-season is getting altered. And then to jump over to the NFL, we were surprised because there was a lot of soft tissue injuries in the NFL early on, with tons of hamstrings injuries. But we really didn't see that big jump in ACLs. We only had about 11, and that it's interesting. What remains consistent in the NFL is the number of ACL injuries in the preseason versus the number of ACLs in season. And that stays pretty consistent, and that stays usually somewhere between, say, 23 to 26 in each. So you see around 23 to 26 ACL injuries in the preseason, around 23 to 26 ACLs in the postseason. Well, we got into season one, and there were only around 8, 9. When we got into game one preseason, there were only around 8, 9 ACL injuries. And we said, well, what's going on? Well, that's the number of injuries, but the exposure was really low.
Right.
We did very, very little in the preseason. Well, once we get into in-season, and this disastrous last Sunday, where, I have several colleagues around the world who track this. We've been tracking this with a friend of mine named Rob Height. Rob, his father was the Bengals team doc, and then Rob was the team doc. I mean, for 30 plus years, been tracking this since the 80s. And then there are other groups like the ACL groups on Twitter that we follow, and they do a really good job. And that group's been following since 2013 very carefully the number of ACL injuries. Never have they seen in a single day in the NFL 7 ACL ruptures. I mean, that's unbelievable. That number is just astronomical. And now people are starting to listen and say, wow, that, this number is enormous, and something needs to be done.
Up here.
Something is up there.
And then, and then, am I right to think that Achilles ruptures are they also?
Achilles ruptures are up there. Again, we're 2 games in, and we have 8 Achilles ruptures in the NFL. And again, ACLs and Achilles ruptures are season ending at least.